good, everybody? What's good? We are back after a week-long break, I should say. Black Phoenix Podcast. We rise again. MC and TR. Thank y'all for hanging out with us one more time. Do not forget to like and subscribe so we can keep pushing our content to y'all. TR, what's good?
Hey, I'm good. I saw that your Pistons lost, so I'm hoping you're doing well for this stream.
You know what? I'm still happy with this season, not gonna lie. Nobody expected us to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, the cope there. So that sounds about right. I think people had that same line for the Detroit Lions as well, too. So
yeah, for now I'm just happy to be there. But next year I'm gonna expect to start winning some series and putting in some work. We'll see how free agency goes this summer.
Yeah, no, I was kind of surprised that LeBron and them got knocked out. I mean, they won one game, but you got Luka on your team. Guess that wasn't a good trade.
You know what's crazy about that? Ant-Man, he's all over IG today because he's been trolling Laker fans in LA. He won all the clubs, all the parties. Hey, I sent your man home. The bad guy won today. Like, man, he stood 10 toes down on being an asshole. I like it.
Yeah, it's something that's gonna definitely that needs to be in the league more because nowadays they've kind of outlawed it or everyone's BF. So I'm glad Ant is trying to win on the court versus off the court with the court proceedings. So, all right.
No doubt.
Yep. All right, let's get started.
This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right.
CM Punk does as much good to my reputation as Shannon Sharpe does to ESPN.
So a lot has happened since the last time we covered the Shannon Sharpe situation. And personally, I just want to warn you guys, it's kind of risky for me to be covering this topic. The last video we did on this topic was my first demonetized video, and I think over a year. So if you guys want to leave a like on this video to boost in the algorithm, I'd appreciate that. So the story goes like this. A woman by the name of Gabriella Zuniga is suing Shannon Sharpe for $50 million for alleged SA. And the story's insane not only because of the allegations being brought forth against Shannon Sharpe and who Shannon Sharpe is as a person, but the reaction Shannon Sharpe has had and what this has led to, including Shannon Sharpe stepping down from ESPN. Now, the basis of these claims is this woman released a phone call between her and Shannon Sharpe.
Whoops. Big black-eyed, choke, small white woman. That was not a good audio. I mean, of all the audio leaks you could have, you don't want that one. That was probably the worst one that could happen. That was very bad for Shannon.
Man, I'm honestly to the point right now, any conversation I have with anybody, I just assume it's being screenshotted and shared or recorded. It's just better to just move with caution and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a fact, though.
Sharpe seemed really, really aggressive and even abusive.
If you said that one more time, I'm going to choke the shit out of you when I see you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
Now, Shannon Sharpe's response to this would be this video.
This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine.
But that's not the only thing Shannon Sharpe would do. He would also release text messages that he had with this woman. And I can't believe that his PR team was cool with him doing this because considering who Shannon Sharpe is, one of the top 3 sports analysts in America, it just seems bizarre that he would want this out there. And Shannon Sharpe released these text messages in hopes that they would clear his name. But sadly, it just made him seem more naive than anything else because you really could see.
So I'm going to stop it there. Let's bring us back up, though. Which, shout out to that guy. That's a masterful breakdown, at least for the little bit that we saw. I'm going to have to subscribe to this guy. He's kind of on top of it. Pause. But yeah, quick thoughts, MC?
This chick is into domination. Shannon dropped the text messages, right? And there's times where she mentioned that she likes hands on the throat. There's times where she said, I want you to, and pause before I say this, put a black baby in me, tie me up, do things to me, handcuffs, etc. Right? So when you dealing with somebody who's into that,
Yeah, at least she wants to have a
Man, when
baby.
you dealing with somebody who's into stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's a real slippery slope, man. Because at any point, there's some women who think that consent can be changed, right? You know what I'm saying? So they'll do with you,
Not
but then they'll
women.
feel bad about it after it happened, and then they'll magically take the consent away, which is weird to me.
Mhm.
So right now, I don't have any vested interest in this. It appears like something. Well, what we know for sure is he was about to sign this $100 million contract. And that might be going out the window now for this 19-year-old who allegedly is an OF model. So
Yeah.
I hope it was worth it, Shay. Club Shay Shay.
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons here. So, and I believe that woman, I think she's 20 something, but I think they met when they were 19. And this really isn't about Shannon Sharpe like hooking up with the OF model. I mean, some people are trying to make it like it's a big deal or something like that, though. This is something a little bit more sinister, though, because this definitely tells me that men don't really understand what's going on, and women are. I mean, this kind of opens the door for a lot of women. If you are in a situation, and I'm not saying we don't know if it happened or not, or if it's alleged that it was just all in the play. But is it worth it going to court over this? Like, I think early reports were trying to say that Shannon was trying to, sell this for 10 million. I mean, if she was asking for 20 million, I think you should pay it, because now you're in line to get 100 million. Now you're about to lose all the 100 million. She might not get paid, but you ain't gonna get paid either. Like, I think they may have overplayed their hand with this, like, coming out in the public, because maybe they could have worked behind the scenes, though. But Shannon, I don't know. This is a really bad look, and if that tape comes out, that's going to be even a worse look for him, because he's already lost the. I mean, he said he stepped down from ESPN, but we know what happened there. He got forced out, and then apparently on his Club Shay Shay podcast with Ocho Cinco, he doesn't have the sponsors on there anymore, so that might be preemptive, or maybe they did ditch him. I mean,
his two biggest sponsors pulled out, DraftKings and Boost Mobile.
Yeah. So if if that's it for Shannon, I mean, he should just pay the money, because we saw this happen with Diddy, where he got into it with, or Cassie came out, was like, hey, or she tried to negotiate like before it went public, like, hey, you need to take care of this. But then, he said, I ain't going to do it. And then that CNN tape came out, and he settled. But the damage was already done. So I don't know. People say don't pay the money. I saw Mason Camp said don't pay the money. I bet you Shannon wish he had paid the money.
So I was trying to find if I believe this is a civil lawsuit. So there's nothing criminal happening here, right? So, but these are I'm going to ask a question that most women tend to get offended when I ask when stuff like this happens. But I'm neutral in this, right? I'm trying to get answers before I can lean one way or the other. But the question for me is always, why wait? Okay, she started messing with the dude when she was 19. She's in her mid-20s now. It looks a little odd that right around the time that he was about to sign his $100 million contract, that you hit him with a civil suit for half of it. It looks odd to me. Like, if he did you wrong for all these years, why now? That's number one. Number two, I think there's some bad narratives being pushed when it comes to this, right? Number one is the age difference. Because it's weird to me that people will get on him and say, okay, well, maybe you should have dated somebody closer to your age range. Why don't you have that same smoke for Tracy Ellis Ross? Why don't you have that same smoke for Cher or Madonna or all these women who like to date guys who are like half their age? Like, what's the difference? Why is it empowering for them to do it, but it's an issue when he does it? Now, me personally, I don't think I would have anything in common with somebody in their 20s. So I don't see it. Outside of what's happening in the bedroom, I don't see the benefits of it, but we got to keep that same energy here. If we keep talking about these double standards, but y'all keep putting them on. That's number two. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick. I think it's just a black man thing, because like you said, with Cher and Madonna and Tracy Ellis, and I'm trying. There's somebody else that's escaping. Oh, Erica Badu, Jada Pickett,
Leonardo DiCaprio.
yeah, Leo. But I mean, more so on the women's side though, because they've pretty much escaped. You know, they never get touched. They never get talked about this. No one ever brings that up. Only when they bring it in these situations, but they really don't. I mean, the way they went in on Shannon, it kind of reminds me of, you know, how people reacted with who was that, Marcus Houston and his young bride. And I mean, she was pretty, I think she was 18, or he met her when she was under 18 and she turned 18. It's like, but I mean, I think it's wild.
Yeah.
I think it's you know, people are going to have their preference on, you know, who they want to date though, but for some reason, the Black community, there's a stigma of dating someone that's, you know, 20 years your senior or 30 years your senior. And I even watched on Anton Daniels' channel where they were trying to have a discussion. Everybody kept coming up with something like half your, you know, 10 years plus 5 or whatever shit is. I mean, here's the thing. Most 30, 40-year-olds, they're banging Shannon's OF chick. I don't know what people are talking about. And they keep having this conversation that, you know, we gotta, you know, we're not gonna be able to do anything. We're not gonna have like a relationship. Duh, like Shannon wasn't with her to try to talk about like the, you know, the feminist agenda. He was just on there to clap cheeks. That was it. That was 100% it. So I don't know why people are trying to act like or get on this soapbox like they wouldn't clap cheeks with this chick, and they would. I've seen them want to clap cheeks with that that woman that had 100 bodies in one day. Like, is she better than the Shannon's chick? I don't think so. But again, you know, this thing about age gap and everything and dating, it's only Black men that get to smoke on this stuff though, because white men, we're watching Bill Belichick. You know, he got him a nice little piece of calico at like 20 something years old, and it's, I mean, and it looks really weird with Bill Belichick. I wish we had time to kind of talk about some crazy stuff that's been happening with them, but Bill Belichick, he ain't catching no strays. He ain't catching no smoke. His chick is working with him, which I think that's kind of odd, but he ain't catching no strays. Leo ain't catching no strays. And then if we go back to the Black men, then, you know, the one that hasn't really caught any strays is Jamie Foxx. Although when he got sick, I did see he caught a few strays because people were saying, you know, go ask your white chick to take care of you, which I guess what's her face did actually go take care of him. But I don't know. I think it's just people just love the Johnson police Black men.
Yeah, so they brought race into it, right? This wouldn't have, there's another narrative. This wouldn't have happened if he was dating a Black woman, right? That's what they say.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous narrative too, because what you're saying is every Black woman is of high moral character. There's scumbags within every segment of people. So making statements like that is dangerous too.
We've seen
terrible narrative to push.
Yeah, and we've seen several men get dragged through the coals by Black women. And again, like you said, it's all women. But the most recent was Iman Shumpert. And then Anthony Edwards. I mean,
Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, Trevor Bauer too, which people never bring that up though, and he's still not in the MLB because that woman lied. So there've been plenty of, I mean, Meg Thee Stallion with Tory Lanez. Like there've been plenty of Black women that have did the same amount of dirt. It doesn't matter what they look like. I mean, at the end of the day, the way the laws are set up, it's to their advantage. Like you might be able to like skirt by with like if the media doesn't catch wind, but as soon as the media catches wind, you're cooked. You might as well say goodbye to your job, say goodbye to your career or whatever, or say goodbye to like, you know, whatever deals you may have had on the table. You're done. So, you know, if you're caught in a compromising situation, you're cooked. That whole Me Too messed it up for everybody too, because they blatantly had women that were lying, but because of the lie, they couldn't go back and say Me Too was a bad thing, so they just went along with it.
Yeah. So check this out. Here's ultimately why it's very hard for me to empathize with Shay. I'm familiar with this podcast a lot, right? I've seen him be attracted. He's gone pretty hard at Meg Thee Stallion. He's gone pretty hard at Miss B Nasty. If you don't know who that is,
I thought you wanted to get with her.
So here's my point, though. Clearly, he has a type, and these people that I just named, including the one who's accusing him now, are clout chasers by nature. If you're an OF person, or you're in the corn industry, or you're in OF or whatever, essentially you're a clout chaser. So are you surprised if they use you to chase clout at some point? Because she's got to be thinking that, okay, her following is going to increase because now her name is out there and so are some of her images. You know, some of the simp army is going to go over there and follow her. Like, there was some strategy with this too. And I'm sure she wasn't expecting the 50 mil that she asked for. They'll settle and they'll go out of court. But Shay's going to take permanent damage because now there's publications that are digging into his past history with women in times where allegedly police officers were called and courts had to get involved. So
I didn't realize he had kind of a history with it as well too, which is he's actually fighting 2 lawsuits. One of them just went mainstream.
Yeah. And again, I have to stay neutral in this because I've seen too many women with feminine power abuse it, right? They'll get the police on them, or that, they'll extort somebody who's already on child support, or they're, like I said earlier, they think consent is adjustable, that they can take it away after they already gave it and the event happened. So I have to be mindful of stuff like this. And if you are a man who are watching this, don't get emotionally attached to stuff like this. Just check out the facts and learn the lessons from it. I would argue that, at least from what I saw, Shannon, you might want to change the type of women that you're attracted to. Because like I said, you seem to be attracted to young clout chasers. That's a formula for failure every single time.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna stand on. I'm gonna be on Shannon's side with this one. If you got a type, you got a type. Like, people are trying to figure out, why is he paying this chick to, all this money for whatever she's asking? Where you just gonna start asking women, like, hey, do you like it up the dupe shoot? Like, do you like that? Okay, then you're my type of girl. And some women probably would say yes, but it's not gonna be the woman that he's into. Like, he's paying a premium is essentially what he's doing. He's paying a premium without actually going to some of those famous bunny ranches to, get those types of people. He's paying a premium to, wreck this chick. She was on board. It was fun until it wasn't fun anymore. So I'm going to be okay with Shannon. Like, if that's your type, just because you're 50, I mean, ain't nobody going after Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro just had a baby and he divorced that chick, or she's trying to divorce him.
He's damn near 80.
Yeah, he's damn near 80, and he just had a kid with some 20-something that he's about to he's about to go through the whole court system with. So yeah, Robert De Niro, I mean, not Robert De Niro, but yeah, Shannon definitely.
He's 81, excuse me. He's above 80, my fault, TR.
Yeah. So Robert De Niro, I mean, I keep saying Robert. So yeah, Shannon definitely has a type though. And I think, once you get to a point in your life and you can still, go the distance, hey, do it. As long as you're doing it legally, which he was doing it legally. People may not like how he was doing it legally or how he was doing it, but he was definitely doing it legally. And how's that any different? Like, you think Cher, is it August Austin or whatever? You think he's just there just because he's, in love with Cher's personality? Now he getting broke off. So I don't know what the difference is between the whole Cher situation. I mean, when it comes to finances versus what's going on with Shannon. So Shannon wants this type of girl to be able to do these type of activities. He's got to pay a premium. And like I said, and honestly though, what really set her off, it wasn't so much that what they were doing. It was because that whole Michelle situation that happened when he leaked the audio for what happened with, he said he was trying to prove that he wasn't gay, but allegedly, he leaked that audio. And so that was like a whole big thing. And she said in the court records that she was upset with him because of what happened. And that's when she like went crazy or haywire And then that's when all the the trouble started for Shannon, though. But it definitely was self-inflicted. I will say that, though, because you pick someone who wasn't mentally stable, and then you didn't have her sign an NDA. I think he tried to, but she refused to sign it. And then I don't know if he tried to made it appear that they were boyfriend and girlfriend or something, but she thought they were. So, and like I said, she might have been on head meds or whatever, but there's some issues happened there.
It's just odd to me that and again, if you read the article with the text messages, all this stuff she was asking him to do to her, and then it's a complete 180 saying that none of it was consensual and he took it. That don't line up to me. And I'm gonna just end on this point. To the women who are invested in this, because there's a lot of y'all, do you care about this or not? Because if you care, you're asking the wrong question. If he's dating someone who's much younger and not of his same race, the question you should be asking is, why didn't he choose you instead of her? Learn some lessons. Like, what is she doing that you're not? That's if you care. If you don't care, then you just talk about it for a couple of minutes and move on, like we're about to do.
So, real quick, what we gonna do about Matt Barnes and Shaq? MC.
So that's in the alleged space, right?
No, it ain't alleged. Hold on, let me pull this up though. Don't be trying to play a alleged card.
No, that's alleged space to me, because you got another man talking about what another man is doing, and not the man himself saying it.
All right, audience, let's do this.
Y'all be the judge. Put in the comments.
But I was in a group chat the other day, or actually just yesterday, and Shaq said he's paying top dollar for any information on old boy. So, again, I'm kind of time, but I was in a group chat the other day.
Yeah, see? Yeah, what we gonna do about that, though? That's like, look, Shannon and whatever he did, okay, we got that. If Shaq, I honestly, apparently Shaq and Shannon got bad blood. So for Shaq's name to be attached to this, I can see something like this happening. And Shaq ain't caught no strays over this. And Matt Barnes' candy ass, he ain't caught no strays either. I'm like, what do you mean in a group chat? Why are you leaking this information? Why are you telling the whole world like what's going on in your group chat with like basketball? I mean, apparently basketball bros and football bros hate each other, because this is really messed up. And these are two black men involved in a conversation to take down another black man. Like, I mean, this ain't the Joy Taylor and Emmanuel Acho going after, I forgot what's his name, that got pushed out over at Fox Sports. But this is, I'm surprised this has not gone viral. This is crazy. Like, people are not talking about this stuff. And this is really messed up, because I just don't get why Shaq would want to be invested in something like this. Like, Shaq, you go after all the girls, and Shaq has done a lot of simple stuff. So I don't understand why Shaq still even gets a pass on any of this stuff, but he does.
So I just finished reading the 48 Laws of Power, and I'm not going to get into that in much detail. It's an interesting read if you want to check it out. But here's what I'll say. Number one, 50 Cent, who's probably considered the king of trolls and is known for taking down his enemies, definitely lives by the principles in that book. Number two, I suspect Shaq is starting to as well. If what we just heard is true, I would imagine something pretty significant happened between Shaq and Shay Shay. And Shaq's petty level was on 1,000, and he's trying to get some information to get at him. So whatever happened between them, it must have been major. Now, I'm hoping it's not anything minor, like a woman that got taken away or something.
Oh, it's definitely it's definitely over a woman.
Then that puts them both in the super simp category, because y'all out here fighting about a chick that neither one of y'all was going to take seriously anyway.
Yeah, that's
simp behavior.
Yeah. Do you remember who was that basketball player? Is it D'Angelo Russell?
The one with the cell phone.
Yeah, the whole cell phone situation. Yeah. They ran that dude out. That dude
Swaggy P, because he was dating Iggy Azalea. I remember that story.
Exactly. Yeah, he actually he lost that chick. I mean, he was cheating anyways, but she didn't know that. She didn't know that until after.
Yeah,
So-
dudes gossip just as much as women do. I know we like to say that we don't, and that's why you got to be careful of who's in your damn circle, because man, some stuff like that get out. It's supposed to be something that's supposed to be, and you hear these athletes talk about all the time, like conversations that are supposed to stay in the locker room, but yet somehow something always gets leaked.
Yeah,
That tells me there's a lot of pillow talky men out here, which I consider to be beta behavior. But hey,
no, it's a lot of hating. Like I wasn't even like thinking. I was like, why would Shaq do this? But yeah, these motherfuckers are a bunch of haters. They got all the money, they got all the accolades, all the entertainment and everything. They just hate on each other. They just hate. They want to take each other down. That's like, and that's probably the sad part in all this, though, because, well, if that chick really did get assaulted, then that's pretty sad too. But yeah, this is really bad. Just to see these two athletes, millionaire athletes, going after Shannon. It's like the man's already down, and I'm not putting on my cape for Shannon. Shannon made his bed, and he had a lot of red flags, a lot of missteps before he got to the point where he was at, and it was completely avoidable. But Shaq and Matt Barnes and whoever else is in that group chat, man, they got to go with that one. They should not be allowed. And I know people won't give Shaq a pass because he makes you laugh on TNT, but Shaq is not. I guarantee you do not want Shaq as a damn friend. I promise you that.
Nah, anybody who's leaking stuff outside the circle don't need to be in my circle. But I wonder if Matt Barnes knew he was being recorded, because history shows that Matt Barnes has no problem coming to see you and putting some hands on you. So I wonder if he knows he was being recorded. But this is messy as hell.
Yeah, I definitely see basketball players a little bit different now, but it is what it is. We'll keep everybody posted.
Yep.
Next topic.
That we all have is, how did we get here with Shedeur Sanders? People who don't know any better are reading these mock drafts and acting like that stuff matters. They put out mock drafts for one reason and one reason only: because y'all are stupid enough to read them.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Think about that for a second. What the hell does what somebody think in September got to do with what's going to happen in April? Nothing. They just need you to look at the mock draft. And one way to get you to look at the mock draft is to put Shedeur Sanders in it. After you're done reading it in the bathroom, you could flush it with the other paper. It matters that little.
Yeah. Bomani, and shout out to Bomani. I kind of fell off with Bomani once I didn't realize how woke Bomani was until until the summer of 2020, and that's when people started to show their ass about, we're gonna fight for this. But shout out to Bomani, because he actually had another take on this. He's absolutely right about the whole mock draft. They put that stuff out there because people need something to talk about. It also generates a lot of, and he might be taking a shot at ESPN. As a matter of fact, I know he's taking a shot at ESPN. They fired his ass, so he's taking this whole YouTube thing a little more seriously. But good for him for where he's been at, though. But yeah, Bomani definitely had another take on here. But if I can find it, I'll play it. You want to get in there, MC?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with your assessment that Bomani is fully woke, because. And I don't listen to him as much as I used to either, but I do consider him one of the smartest sports commentators in the industry. Yeah. But I also know that he's from Texas, and if you hear him talk about firearms and the Second Amendment, he doesn't have woke ideology for everything. That's all I'm trying to say. But going back to the question at hand, those mock drafts are trash. The best way to determine how good your draft picks are going to be is to go back and reevaluate them after 3 years. Are they still in the league? Are they still putting up good numbers? That's how you determine a good draft pick. I think about all the people that's passed on a Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady or a Terrell Owens, players like that who ended up just being complete monsters and studs on the field. How many of these GMs and scouts completely overlook these people for people like, Jamarcus Russell or Tim Couch or somebody like that? They don't know what they're doing. They have a general idea, but it's guesses at the end of the day. There's very few guaranteed picks, at least right away. Peyton Manning was probably the last major pick that I can think of where they threw him in and started right away, and he kind of did okay. It got better over time. I'm sure there's a more recent example, but that was the first thing that popped in my head. But before him, I can't even think of anyone that was like plug and play, NFL ready from day one, and it actually worked out with them being in the Hall of Fame. How many times do you think that's happened?
Yeah, not as
They don't know what
often,
they
and
doing.
they
Not with
flame
these
out
jerseys.
usually as well too. I found that video of Bomani because, like I said, I'm gonna give Bomani some credit here though because he had a pretty sane take. And when it comes to like, well, you know what? I take that back. Bomani is not woke, but he is definitely a race hustler at times. So I think that's probably more of a fair assessment of him. Let me play this.
What is very clear to me is that Dion misjudged what kind of leverage his son had. He got bad information. I think his son was operating on the principle that my daddy knows everything, my daddy knows this league, and my daddy says I'm going to be a top 10 pick. So I ain't got to go to all these places. I have had people tell me things about the way the Shedeur carried himself in meetings that he had with teams, and it was poor. It was the way that you behave when you have the leverage, and he wasn't good enough to have that leverage. And again, some of us were telling you that as a talent, there were shortcomings. He didn't have the physical traits that NFL teams look for. We told you this. We did. So stop acting like everybody was so sure that Shedeur was going to go early. And then now the league, they decided to put their thumb on this outspoken black man. You know how disrespectful that is to actual outspoken black men? Like, do you get it? No, that's just not what happened here. They thought they had more flex than they did. They thought the league was more interested in him that they did. They thought these teams were like, hey, they need a quarterback. They gonna take this one. They seen what it is. They ain't gonna pass this up, and they passed it up over and over and over and over again. And once again, what did I tell you earlier? If you're not gonna play and you're gonna be
Bomani
quarterback,
cooking.
people gotta like you.
Yeah, Bomani was
Yeah.
cooking on that. Like I said,
Spot on.
fair is fair. So there's a couple levels to this. People want to think that, you know, they immediately jump to the whole racism bullshit BS. They want to say the NFL is also racist. Look, only 4 or 5 teams really needed a quarterback. Okay. And so if we want to go down the list of some obvious ones, the Giants, I don't have a lot of faith in the New York Giants' front office. So I'm not surprised they went with the picks that they did. And then you got the Steelers, and they got the whole Aaron Rodgers out there. Outside those two, I mean, maybe there are some other places that could have taken him, but considering like some of the stuff that was going on with Sanders, I understand why they you know, why he went in the later rounds. And then also one thing that I didn't even consider until I heard CGA talk about it was the what do you call it, the agent. Sanders, I didn't realize Sanders was their agent. And so I found out that they fired their dad. They fired their dad like maybe what was it? Like a little bit after the draft. So and that's actually important though, because when it comes time to negotiate, you want to be negotiating with a professional, with a pro. You do not want to be negotiating with a parent. That could be considered the reason. That could be the reason why Lamar Jackson slid in the draft, though, because as teams are trying to reach out to Lamar Jackson and reach out to, you know, his agent, which was his mom, it could be a little bit difficult trying to negotiate because, you know, they're trying to figure out what's going to be the best fit, like if this person's how committed they are, and then also when it comes to talking about money, because at the end of the day, you know, it's trying to figure out like how much, you know, what they're willing to, you know, invest in your son or into the player. So if they are, you know, having difficulty trying to, you know, figure out where things are with your son / your, you know, your client, I can see why I can see why a player would slide. Now, is that an excuse to like pass on a Lamar Jackson? I don't think so, because Lamar Jackson is a, you know, a crazy, you know, once in a generation talent. But Shedeur, just like Bomani said, like they misjudged it. They thought they were going to be able to run it, and then working with, you know, Deion Sanders as an agent, they're like, nah, we good. So maybe some fuck shit happened though. But if it wasn't because of racism, they were like, nah, you don't run this league. You're not bigger than the Shield. MC.
All right. First of all, this was not racism. This was pettyism. This was the NFL being petty, but not racist. You know how I know this isn't racism? TR, who was the first pick in the draft?
Cam Ward.
Cam Ward. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is he not of melanin? Is he not a man of melanin? Did you know that the NFL broke the record for the most starting black quarterbacks last year with 15 different teams starting black quarterbacks? Did you know that at one point they wouldn't? Did you know that at one point they would not let black people play quarterback because they did not think we were smart enough to read the playbooks? Do you see progression here? Because I see positive progression.
Yeah.
So, and this is where y'all lose me with this victim stuff, man. Y'all want to blame everything on racism, but Monty hit this right on the head. Shedeur Sanders pissed off a lot of people in his time in the NFL. Now, you can say he was brash, you can say he was arrogant, whatever word you want to say. At the end of the day, he's the greatest corner to ever play the game. He took the same approach with his career and tried to apply it to his son, who is nowhere nearly as proven as he is. Not even close. Now, I'm going to give Shedeur a little bit of credit because, honestly, I don't know how good he's going to be. We saw what he did at Jackson State, and I can tell you when he was at Colorado, they had one of the worst offensive lines. He was running for his life damn near every single play. So I have no indication on how good he is, but what I do know is this. He made a comment about a year ago, and I know he's been working out with Tom Brady for the last couple of years, right? And he seems he has some type of wisdom because he made the comment, everything I've learned about this game, I learned from my dad. But he can't teach me anything else because he was a cornerback and I'm trying to be a quarterback.
That's a good point.
He had enough wisdom to say, I need to go find somebody who can teach me this and who has done this before.
Yeah.
Coach Prod can talk to him about reading the quarterback, but he can't talk to him about being a quarterback. So I got to give him credit for demonstrating some type of wisdom there. But the NFL, this is pettyism because I think that his pops came in there on some arrogant stuff. We gonna decide who he plays for, and I think the NFL. This wasn't even about Shedeur. This was about Coach Prime, as far as I'm concerned. But it wasn't a racism thing. It was a petty thing because we remember all the conversations and the leverage he had in his career, and they took it out on Shedeur. Like, no, you're not going to do the same thing that your dad did. That's my take on it.
Yeah, you know what? And there's another race hustler that is on the same side as Bomani, and looks like it's with us as well too. I was surprised to hear this take.
Okay.
Prepares the way with a certain confidence,
right?
And so we used to that with some Johnny Manziel's and some other guys who were cocky and confident, but I think that they're not used to. And I mean, we've been in sports all our life. They're used to black kids from single mothers who are happy to be in the league or whatever else. And this kid does not have to. He didn't grow up hand to foot, hand to mouth, and he doesn't have to. Maybe he should have. Like I said, that's part of the thing. But he's going to carry himself a certain way, and I think that rubs some people wrong too.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, different. But all of course, he's a good kid.
Yeah. Oh,
he's
yeah.
No,
like there is. I think the worst thing you can say about him is that he's overconfident and cocky. I'll take that for anybody. Right. But the only reason I hear what you're saying, and I don't want people in the chat. They've been killing me because I said, like, I don't think this was really about racism. I think about a lot of things.
It's not about that, but
yeah, I'm gonna stop right there. I mean, essentially, Jamel Hill and Bomani Jones, like I said, when it comes to like race hustling, because especially more so with Jamel Hill than Bomani, just because she went in on Saquon Barkley. Like honestly, if we had more time, we'd cover that topic too. But she went in on Saquon Barkley unnecessarily. Just it's time to shit on a black man. It's she's gonna be right there. But with this whole Shedeur Sanders, and I know she doesn't like the NFL like that though, and she debunked that whole Kaepernick BS. Well, she debunked it, but then she tried to ring it back in though. But the point is, she's not on board with this whole racism thing. But for so many black people to not just black people, but all these, white liberals too. They jumped in on this as well too. Try to like Mel Kiper, try to say like, oh my God, that's, this is shameful. I don't know what's going on in the NFL. And, they're just trying to send a message. Well, they sent the message not because not because he was black, because they was trying to like act like they run the NFL. And then one thing's for sure, and two things for certain: you'll never be bigger than the Shield. Ask Maurice Claret how that worked out for him.
Or Colin Kaepernick for that matter. Look, the NFL does not want to take a stance on issues like this. They want to stay neutral, and that's why people get frustrated with them.
Keeps the money wheel going.
But as the average fan of sports, I'm here to tell you, I don't turn on basketball or football for these types of conversations. The world is already hard enough. You know what I'm saying? I go out, I get it, I provide, I protect, etc. I need an escape. I need to relax and ease my mind and watch something that is enjoyable, which is what sports used to be. And again, no disrespect. I do want to go back and talk about one thing real quick, though, as I pivot, but keep it on the same subject. Both Shedeur and Coach Prime are about to have the biggest test in their professional careers coming up this upcoming year, and I'm going to tell you why. I'll start with Coach Prime. Most of the talent that he's had on all of his rosters have been people that he has coached since they were in Little League. They followed him all the way through high school and progressed him all the way up to Colorado.
Yeah.
When that flow of players starts to run out, and now you got to focus on your recruiting skills and your X's and Y's, that's going to be Coach Prime's test. We know he's got the personality. We know a lot of younger people respect him, but can he convert that into recruiting, into wins on the field without the players that he's been molding since they were kids? That's his test. Here's Shedeur's test. You just got drafted by a franchise that has never, or I won't say ever, but they pretty much suck at developing quarterbacks, and they appear to be a dysfunctional franchise right now. You got to ball out, bro. You have to ball out, and now you got to prove it. You're there. You were in the 5th round. You're there now. Now you got to go in and prove something. Or, do your 4 years, and if it didn't work out there, take a shot with another team. Now you got to go out there and prove what you think about yourself. So those are going to be y'all 2 tests. Hopefully y'all both pass. I'm rooting for you, but you got to pass those tests on your own. Ain't nobody going to do it for you.
Yeah. I don't know the number of how many players got or were picked up from Colorado, though, but it's still pretty good that he got Cam Ward and both his sons, because Shiloh was undrafted, but Shiloh got picked up by the Bucks.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, you're right about the test, but I think it's going to be easier. I shouldn't say easier. The one with the most upside is going to be Shedeur, because you're already playing for the Browns, so you can't go any lower than that, unless I guess if you went to the Raiders. But you can't go any lower than where you're at right now. And yeah, they got 5 quarterbacks on the roster. I'm confident that Shedeur will be able to, could definitely be the day one starter, or at least mid-season starter, because Flacco's there, and then they drafted a quarterback, and they got some other people in the mix. So I definitely think Shedeur can get there, and he can definitely, and it'll be a great story. He shocks, he told everybody like, hey, they counted me out, or whatever the case is, whatever motivation you need. But you can definitely turn around, just like so many other quarterbacks have turned it around. Like, I mean, he's not like Tom Brady, but he can definitely have a similar story like Tom Brady did. So, he is definitely possible, though. But yeah, this was Deion Sanders versus the NFL. And just like Bomani said, he overplayed his hand. And it's a damn shame that so many white sportscasters, they definitely can't be honest about this. I don't know what they're afraid of. If they're going to be afraid to be called, if they're going to be called racist, if they feel like they're not going to get their airtime or their interviews or whatever it is. It's kind of ridiculous that so many, and it was like I said, like there were a lot of people that were hustling, but on the white sportscasters, I mean, they all had the same script. Like ESPN should be ashamed of themselves unless ESPN gave them the script to discuss it. Because I was like, are you guys really saying the NFL is rigging it because he's black? Even though they had like, I think the first 3 picks were like black athletes. Because I know it was Travis Hunter, which shout out to him, because I didn't know I didn't think he was going to go number 2. I thought he'd be in the top 5, maybe top 10. But he went number 2. So, shout out to him. And happy, congrats on the wedding vows as well, the wedding marriage as well too. But what the point in all that is, it's weird to see that these white allies come out here and say, this is definitely racism, because they're really not helping the situation. And this actually reminds me how white women, or liberal white women, how they get everyone riled up with emotion, and they bring in, and they the vehicle they use is black emotion, and so they rile it up with like saying like, this is racism, this is this something stinks about this, whatever the case is. And it's like, you guys work in the business. This is why nobody listens to CNN, and this is why nobody listens to ESPN outside of like really Stephen A. Smith. Like, no one wants to listen to you guys because you're just a bunch of race hustlers. You can't tell the truth. You're too scared to tell the truth. And nobody takes you guys serious. So that's why I was surprised that Bomani and Jamel Hill, I'm probably the harshest critic for mainly Jamel Hill, but she called it like it is. She said it wasn't racism. And that I was like, damn, that's actually very provoking, because nobody else was saying that. Nobody, it's funny. The black correspondents that had a problem with it, like, I mean, maybe it was like RG3. I think he may have said something, or no, it was Chris Carter. Chris Carter got dragged for saying that Shedeur had like a bad interview, which he did. He didn't participate in the combine, which he had his own combine, his own special combine, and he talked about like some other things that didn't go so well with Shedeur. They dragged him. They dragged him on all the socials, X, Reddit, Facebook. I'm like, man, but Jamel Hill ain't caught no strays. So,
TR, can you imagine interviewing for a job and you be like, no, you come to me. I know I haven't started working for you yet and proved anything, but here, you come to me. I ain't coming to you.
Yeah.
That's not a good look, man. And I forgot one more challenge that Shedeur is going to have. I can argue that he was just drafted into the toughest division in the NFL, the AFC North. They got some beasts up there. The Steelers are always winning. The Bengals were just in the Super Bowl a few years ago. And then you got the Ravens, who always go deep in the playoffs and are known for having a great defense. Man, you want to talk about challenges, you really going to have to prove it, because the AFC North they're going to be on you, bro. They coming for you. Pause.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that? You could have just stopped. You should have just started and ended with the Ravens, because Bengals, if Burrow can stay healthy, which he hasn't, actually, didn't he play a full season last season?
I think very close to, if not the entire season.
Yeah, for some reason I thought he got injured, but and the Steelers, I mean, yeah, if you want to go 8-8, I guess that's solid. I just looked it up though. Looks like Colorado had 4 players, which Hunter, Sanders, Shiloh, and then somebody named Wester, LeJohntay Wester. So he went undrafted actually. So only 2 players were drafted and 2 went undrafted. So, I guess that's progress, But yeah, good luck to Shedeur, and to everyone out there thinking this was something more than that, you're an idiot. And that's that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Actually, you know what I'm going to say about that?
Shut your bitch ass up.
I will add one more thing. BJ Green, who is also from Colorado, just signed with the Jaguars too. So he's another Colorado player.
Oh yeah,
so,
good for him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to the next topic.
People walk into here without any process at all, and now you're trying to gum up the works to keep them here.
A lot of them came in. A lot of them came in with parole. A lot of them came.
Whoops.
And polling shows 54% of Americans want Mr.
November
Abrego
polling
Garcia
showed Donald
back.
Trump won the
That's
election.
CNN
So
polling.
November
Republic is shifting.
We are a sovereign nation, and you cannot just come into our country illegally whenever the heck you want, because we can't do it to any other country on the face of this
Asylum
earth.
is a legal
If
right.
you come in illegally, you have to leave. Americans are tired of that. We do not have unlimited resources.
You know who was here illegally?
All right, I'm going to pause that for a moment, though. But as you can see, CNN is not, or Abby Phillips She is not getting control of this panel, and it's definitely about to go off the rails here.
No doubt.
Deportation order, Marco Rubio's grandfather.
All right,
We're not talking about Marco Rubio.
Oh, now we're not. Now that's not relevant.
Hey, pause real quick, TR, because I do want to make a point. One of the things that the Dems always push back with when it comes to these conversations are being an asylum seeker is not illegal. Okay, you're partially correct. There's a process for if you are coming to this country seeking asylum, and they're skipping over that process too. So that's what makes it illegal. I think we need to call that out because this is a word salad argument, and it's just a distraction.
Yeah, agreed.
About Marco Rubio, because Marco Rubio used to be an advocate for TPS for Venezuelans, and Marco Rubio used to be
an
advocate for Nicaraguans and Cubans. No, I know you're not.
This country illegally, you are going home. Simple as that. We do not have unlimited resources.
I think a lot of Americans
take care of other people.
There's a hell of a lot of people, other than the black people who were brought here as slaves, who came to this country illegally.
They're not the same as black people who were brought here.
That's exactly what I just said. I said there is a lot of people
There's a big
than the black people.
There is a big difference.
That's exactly what I just said.
Difference.
That's exactly what I just said, Sir Michael. Look and act indignant. That's exactly what I just said.
Let me just share Michael.
Other than the black
Anna and share Michael.
There are a lot of people from many
I think you actually misheard what she. I think you misheard what she.
But see, this is why I dislike Abby Phillips so much, because if it's anybody else, if it's a Democrat going after a Republican, she will 1000% go after or try to talk that person down, but she will never do that on the other way. Actually, if anything, if a Republican goes after a Democrat, well, it's funny thing is Ana Navarro, the Latina, she's a registered Republican. You can't tell from some of the things that she does essentially, or the things she says about the Republican Party, as well as Trump. So whenever Abby Phillips is on there, she will always lean to the left, and she will always take the side and try to be the voice of reason, or even cut off people that are Republican and try to be like, no, you're misreading it, you misheard it, that's not accurate. Like, instead of being like a moderator, she turns into a commentator on her show, and she's supposed to be moderating, not putting her own opinions into it.
Yeah, so basically her bias is showing. That's basically what you're saying, which by definition makes you a bad moderator. Sorry, Abby, but it's true. And first of all, she didn't misspeak. We heard what she said. She said black people that were brought here via slavery were brought here illegally. They came here illegally. There's so many things wrong with that. First of all, we did not come here. We were forced here.
We got like 30 more seconds of this.
Yeah.
She said.
No, he purposely misheard.
She said.
Purposely.
Yes, she did.
So now you're in my
Share
brain.
Michael, listen to me for just a second.
Is that where we're going?
You think I would say I will have advocated for black people my entire life and say something like that?
Anna,
because you've advocated for black people, great. Congratulations. Last time I checked, I'm black. You're not.
Okay, Share Michael.
That's right. I'm Latino, and my people are being racially profiled.
It is.
And
do I have to remind you the history of my people?
Share
Michael.
I
want to go there?
I don't.
Do you really want to go there?
We're going to go to break. Raul Reyes, thank you very much for joining us. Everybody else, hang tight. We'll be right back.
That was probably the best thing she could do, because she wasn't going to bring those emotions back down.
Usually Scott is the one leading all of this, and then I've seen this guy on here, Michael, the black dude on there, and I mean he usually cooks stuff, but I just never know his name because he doesn't go viral on any of this stuff. But I'm sure Michael Singleton, yeah, him and Anna, definitely not gonna be shaking hands at any point soon, though. But the point in all that is this is 100%. And again, Ana Navarro is a registered Republican, but she's not a Republican. She's a damn rhino. And then she's also like, carrying water for the Democrats. This is like one of the things that I don't understand when we have this conversation, especially with Black Americans, because we get the history with how Black people were brought into America, and then the things that we had to do, or our ancestors had to do in order to survive, and then get past slavery and survive. And then and I will admit that there are some things that have that we just, as a culture, we just have not been able to shake or get away from. You can call it for whatever you want. You can say there's some other stuff involved with that. I like to tend along the lines like some of this is self-inflicted though, because we can definitely come together and we rely too much on the Democratic Party to save us. That said, Ana Navarro, this is something that they always say, or when they try to have this conversation about illegal immigration, is that they bring up the slavery conversation. And if a Republican, if a white man said this, a white Republican man said this, he'd be all over it. He'd be all over the socials. He'd be everywhere. They'd be talking like, this is what we were talking about. Ana Navarro says it, and not that no one's really going after her though, because I'm in a lot of Black spaces. No one's even brought this conversation up though. And it's great that Shermichael brought this up though, because again, Black Republicans get the most smoke and we do the most defending when it comes to BS like this. And Ana Navarro is someone who just loves to use Black faces to push her point or whatever her agenda is, but she doesn't really stand with Black people. None of them stand with Black people. They're just pro-Democrat.
So I'm talking to all Black people right now. We are a very emotional group of people. They know that and they take advantage of it.
Yeah.
This particular point didn't go the way she thought it was going to go, because I've seen this before. When conversations like immigration come up, I noticed some of the folks in the Latino community like to compare that experience to slavery or, the Black American experience. It's not comparable. But what we need to do is don't get emotionally charged when they try to do that. What you need to do is let them put their own foot in their mouth.
Yeah.
Me personally, if I was sitting there and she made that statement, I'd say, oh, well, okay, well, since you're the expert on Black people and the big advocate, tell me what the biggest issues are in the Black community right now. And then you sit back and you let her put her own foot in her own mouth.
That's a good point.
But this is a liberal tactic, actually. Before I left the Dems in 2010, a lot of them would do that to me. They try to get you riled up on emotional talking points to get you to do what they need you to do to push their agenda forward. It doesn't benefit you. It's going to benefit them. It's kind of like how, if we're being honest, and we've said this before, with DEI and affirmative action, hell, you can throw the civil rights movement in there too. You can make a very strong case that white women benefited from all of this more than anybody else.
Yeah.
But historically speaking, if you look at the contributions that Black people have made to the United States, they don't receive the most benefits for their contributions. So this is my call to you all to say, stop being emotional, stay calm. And these types of people, put them in positions where they can put their own foot in their mouth, because that's how Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris. She came in with a whole bunch of emotional talking points and it didn't work. And Trump was a lot more calmer this time than he was when he was dealing with Hillary. He let Kamala put her own foot in her own mouth. And that's how you deal with people like that.
Yeah. He honestly, I mean, he didn't have to say too much. There's a video, if I can find it, I'll play it. Speaking of Kamala, but yeah, this is one of those things where my goal for like on this channel is to kind of like have this discussion on a lot of topics, but also when it comes to politics, I'm not saying you got to vote for Trump. I'm not saying you got to be like in love with Trump or whatever the case is. But if you're going to say you're going to carry water for the Democrats, you got to be able to tell me why. You got to be able to tell me, you got to convince me like, okay, I get your point. That makes sense. But for the most part, for Black people, everything you say that's wrong with Trump, or at least the Republican Party, and I understand the Republican Party does have an image that they need to fix. And I feel like they've made a lot of, strides in fixing that as well, too. Because I don't believe that, the party of the triple Ks and the party of the Jim Crow laws, those are all Democrats. Those weren't Republicans. So people always talk about history. Well, I don't think people really realize what the Democrats, where they were versus where they're at now. And nowadays, I heard somebody just say that if the Latino population continues to grow, which that was kind of the playbook for the the Joe Biden administration and Kamala administration, or potentially Kamala, no matter if Black Americans, but even if Black Americans voted at 100%, it wouldn't even matter, because we've lost the voting power, and the voting power has actually dwindled, because even in this past election, if all Black Americans voted for Kamala, it would have made a difference. because you're not going to get all the white vote. You're not going to get all the Latino vote. And maybe, I mean, you might get some Asian vote, but at the end of the day, if you can't bring those communities over, or at least if people on the Republican side don't vote, you're not going to, the black vote just isn't going to matter. Probably the next 2 election cycles, because if the Latino and, like I said, the white votes continue to grow, well, I guess white votes aren't really growing, but there's definitely a they tend to lean more to the right outside of the the Joe Biden election. But outside of that, though, for the most part, yeah, they tend to lead more towards the conservative side. So for Black Americans, yeah, you're honestly, the vote probably won't matter in the next election cycle. There's just not enough of us to swing the vote. Like it used to be, you have to win the black vote. I don't think that's going to be the case in the next 2 election cycles.
And also, to be honest with you, I think the Dem strategy with the Latinos is going to backfire on them anyway. Look, a lot of the Latino people that come here are very family oriented. They tend to be more conservative than people give them credit for, especially if you talk to ones that have come here from like Cuba or places like Venezuela, places with heavy socialism. They'll tell you it was trash, and that's why they're here in the first place. So that right there, you're probably going to lose some votes. You're bringing them here. You're promising them citizenship, and you're not coming through unless they have kids, and you're giving them these benefits. But you can look at the exit poll results. We talked about this late last year. I think Trump took almost half of the Latino vote. So apparently what they're doing is not even working in the first place. So that's just got to be mindful of stuff like that. The Dems' problem is they continue to suck at reading the room. They don't know why they lost, even though people keep telling them over and over again. And they don't seem to understand or comprehend. And these are supposed to be Harvard educated scholars. You just lost your biggest fundraiser in Lindy Lee. That's a whole lot of money that just went out the door. And now she has been on a complete mission to air out the entire ratchetness of that party. And what their strategy was to pay a whole bunch of celebrities and thoughts to inspire people to get to the polls and vote. Come on, man. You're supposed to learn lessons from your losses, not do the same thing over again. And AOC is on a mission right now to run for president, and she's out making her speeches. You think bringing AOC in, somebody who leans even further left than Kamala, is going to solve your problems?
Yeah. See, this is the thing that Black people, this is what's going to happen. And it's going to be too late, though, because even though Trump's not running in the next election cycle, though, they're going to think like whoever they put up there is going to be for Black people. None of those people are going to be for Black people. They don't care about the Black community, though, because they don't even have to win like even the majority vote. You're going to vote for them no matter what anyways. And so they have to wake up, though, because we have to wake up as a community and see that the Democrats are not for Black Americans. They're for themselves. And the people that they have in there to tell you, like the D.L. Hugleys, Kamala Harris is, she's not Black, but she's definitely up there. Even Michelle Obama. Like, there's a lot of these people that say they're working on behalf of Black people, but they're really not. Well, what have they really done to show you that they're here for Black people? And I know the flip side of that question is that what has Trump done for Black people? And there's a couple of things I can definitely point out, though, that people just won't give him credit for, starting with HBCUs. But ultimately, though, Trump doesn't need to do anything specifically for certain groups. He needs to do something for Americans. And that's what's most important. That's why it's hard for me to vote for anybody that's going to go into that's going to have any type of decision-making skill, or not skill, but decision-making power. And they have they check some of these boxes, because when they check those boxes, that's what they focus on. That's why it's difficult to vote for, people that, however they want to identify. I'm like, I don't have a problem with you getting into the office, but if you bring your damn personal politics into it, I can't mess with it, because I don't want you putting your agenda on 90% of the people out there that say they don't want it. And the majority of those people are scared to say something because they're going to get called a racist or a phobe.
Yeah. And I swear this is the most condescending party ever. I'll start with this. Until we fix our family structure, we'll continue to be a joke politically. We'll continue to be a joke as a community. That's number one. Number two, TR, I just posted an article. The state of Oregon has decided to lower the math, reading, and writing standards because they felt they felt that it excluded people of color. That's basically a nice way of saying these ninjas is too stupid to hit these math metrics, so we're gonna drop them even lower. How is that not offensive to y'all and pisses y'all off? This is the type of stuff that the Democrats do. They think that they need to lower scores for us and keep us on welfare. Meanwhile, the Republicans is like, look, I'm gonna give you these tools, but I'll show you how to get there, but you got to do it yourself. I would much rather learn how to do it myself and get it out the mud, man. I don't need anybody lowering any math and science scores. This is so condescending, right? And this is why I had to leave the Dems back in 2010, and I stand by that decision to this day. But again, ultimately what comes back to, until we figure out how to fix our families, we will continue to be a joke politically. And it's going to stay that way until we fix the family. And this is how I know y'all don't care about fixing the family. Donald Trump threw out something about giving people $5,000 to have kids. And I saw so many black people say, oh, well, this is just something to repopulate white people. This ain't black business. This is black business. You are included in that $5,000 credit.
Yeah.
Our population has always stayed around 12 to 14%. We have not had any population growth in this country because we lead the league in most baby deletions. And we have the highest divorce rates and we can't stay together. So this tells me that y'all happy with these problems that we have. Y'all don't want to fix nothing.
Hey, respectfully, MC, I don't like that cream pie tax, that tax credit. I just don't.
Officer Tatum said he would support it if you only give it to married people. He said he was fully supported if that caveat was made.
Yeah, I think it's written only for married people though. But I mean, I used to be on the defense of, I used to be on the side of like, you got to incentivize people. But right now, women are incentivized already. So just to do it for $5,000, maybe they could do it. I don't know. But they're already incentivized. And who's to say they don't even have to have a kid to be incentivized? Or I shouldn't say incentivized, like to be married. If they get a divorce, they're incentivized to get a divorce and they will walk away with half in most cases. So yeah, look, let's focus on the Doge tax refund, and then we can have that conversation, because I rather have them claw back the money that they've been pissing away on silly projects that too many to list. Versus,
so here's where we're going to disagree, TR, because we have a family crisis in this country, and I'm not just talking about black people anymore. I'm talking about the United States as a whole. The average, I think it's 1.3 now for the average kids per family. And I've heard economists say that average needs to at least jump up to 2.3 in order for us to sustain Social Security and GDP outputs. So the same thing that's happening in Japan right now will eventually happen to us and China to a degree. China's economy is suffering because there's a lack of people too, because you remember they used to do things with daughters back in the day. But we're going to have those same problems if we don't have more people putting into the system that are taking out. Because once these baby boomers start increasing their Social Security, we're going to have all kinds of problems as a country because we don't have enough people to fill those coffers.
You know how you want to solve that problem? I can tell you, like, this is how you solve it. You ready? You ready, MC?
Go ahead.
Warning, enemy nuke has been launched. Repeat, enemy nuke has been launched.
And that's how you solve it. You got to drown everybody. Like you got to get rid of the people that mess it up. And the people that mess it up, unfortunately, it started with feminism. Women fought hard to, want to work in these factories, want to work in these corporate jobs, want to be, CEO of Nabisco. They fought hard to be in these places. And everyone keeps telling them that they don't have to have kids. I saw a post about a woman said, you don't have to have kids until you're in your 40s. Well, good luck, because you won't have any grandparents. And so I don't know why you're just not going to be able to fix it, because they know that there's a problem. And, but I mean, as long as Planned Parenthood still exists, that's just going to be a problem. and the Black community has not grown since Planned Parenthood has been installed in our communities. So that's not going to happen. I mean, if the Black community, if anything, is going to shrink more, if that's even possible. But yeah, it's just when it comes to like family, and then the more that men are waking up though, because they know that they're going to lose. Well, they know that the courts are not fair to men in most cases. Well, the courts aren't fair to the one who makes the most money. So if you make the most money, you're gonna get railed, which typically tends to be the man. So, and then the family courts, I mean, we're starting to hear more and more stories. So as much as social media has given rise to like women be able to tell their truth, it's also exposed them too. So I think men are starting to smart up and think that, hey, we're not going to be, we're not going to be the ones that end up losing in this case. And you see people like Shannon Sharpe, where they're like, I don't want to marry a woman around my age, or Tracy Ellis. I'd rather just go me young something, and hopefully it doesn't go, south, and then we're all good. Had he not had that audio leak, I don't think we would have heard about this situation, and he would still have been clapping those cheeks. So I think for most men, I think they're kind of waking up though, and men really need to wake up with the Shannon Sharpe situation though, because you get exposed, everybody's coming for you, especially if you're a Black man. Everybody's coming for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna just end on this because we got so far off topic. I was looking up Anna Navarro's stances on a lot of different things. She's definitely a rhino. Go ahead and switch sides to the blue side. Everything that you stand on screams them. So go ahead over there with them.
Hey, real quick, I want to hear a message from the former first Black lady.
I know people are discouraging rhetoric like I told you so. But you guys, she did tell us so. You spent over 107 days traveling the country warning us about Project 2025 and the effects that it would have not only on the cost of living, but goods,
a lot of white
and what it would actually define as our citizenship. Given that he has been detailed the 900 pages of his playbook, what can we do as Americans to prepare for the ongoing attacks, or at least to create them?
Hey, MC, I know you haven't seen this. What do you think she's going to say?
Get out and vote.
I mean, that's one thing, but what do you think she's going to say anything else? Or
she probably going to say a bunch of babble that doesn't really mean anything. I never know what's going to come out of her mouth, but it never really relates to the topic. She's not great at answering questions.
Nice pantsuit.
Well, first, let's speak truth about the fact that, as you said, Kenny, this playbook is a playbook that has been in the works for decades. So don't be duped into thinking, oh, this is just something that is the fancy of some wild thoughts that happened overnight. There have been a lot of people planning for the moment that someone would be in the White House to implement what we are witnessing. Mm-hmm. And it may feel chaotic, and certainly the tariffs are, but be very clear. This is mostly not chaos we are witnessing. It is high velocity implementation of a long-standing plan.
Pause it real quick.
And so,
oh my God.
For the record, the question was, what can we do about this? She has not answered that question yet.
Yeah. She's still in word salad mode.
This is crazy.
Let's be clear about an agenda that is at foot, because this fight against what is happening that is hurting people, yes, it will be about the next election, but it's bigger than that. It's about seeing where the tracks are being laid in a way that we know that we have to address them and be prepared for the consequences if we don't have a counter plan, which includes making sure that we get people out to vote, which means making sure that people.
You said it. There was
it just took her so long to get there. Like, I find myself getting more and more. Have you ever asked somebody a yes or no question, but you get a whole essay instead of the yes or no you were looking for?
Yeah.
That's pretty much her. That was pretty much her campaign. You could ask a direct toss up, and the interviews that she scheduled for herself with the scripts, and they were all scripted. She knew the questions beforehand, and she still didn't answer the questions. Like, what are we doing here? Seriously, what are we doing?
There's a Oh, here it is.
Democratic women to run.
I wanted to play this one actually. I thought it was going to be that. I thought it was going to be the one that just played, but this one is actually pretty important.
I think it's super important that we have more women elected leaders.
There it is.
Well, what I think is more important is to make sure the Black women are uplifted.
That's
What
right.
are you going to do since you're finally clocking back in to uplift Black women?
Okay, real quick, we have a do I got a sound bite for this? I don't think I do actually. Nope, I don't. So, but anyways, we have someone, a zesty rainbow dude, and again, I don't care about what you do in your bedroom. It is what it is. I don't care. You don't ask about mine. I don't ask about yours. Okay, we're good. But we have a black man asking a black woman, what is she going to do to uplift black women? This is crazy to me. This is why you want to know why the black community isn't going to survive, because it's BS like this. This has nothing to do with uplifting just black women. And if that was the case, what happened these last 4 years when she was with Joe Biden? I mean, what were they doing? Were they not uplifting black women then? Just because Joe Biden put the most women on the benches, that's supposed to be an accomplishment. What that do for all the other black women out there? Nothing. This is why you can't listen to you can't put a lot of stock in the Democrats, especially with Kamala, and they're talking about uplifting black women. This is why they lost. They played identity politics, and this is why they lost.
It doesn't work anymore. Run those policies. All I care about is what policies are you trying to push. Don't care about any of the extras.
Facts.
Well, first of all, I want to remind all women, and black women in particular, that there is still so much ground to be broken. And know that you have support. Know that, again, that people will applaud you for taking that step to think about running for office and to run for office. Know that I applaud you, as do so many, for you to have the ambition to know that you've got something at stake and you're prepared to lead because you have a voice and an opinion and a stake in the decisions that will be made through that office, whatever the office is that you seek. And that your voice is important, that you have and bring to that platform, those microphones, a lived experience that must be reflected in the decisions that will impact so.
He looking at her like, bitch, what is you talking about? That's not what I asked you. Like, I didn't ask for a whole word salad. I didn't ask for you, like, give me all the superlatives. I'm asking you, like, what are black women, what do they need to do? You're giving me these good vibes conversation. This is, and she yammers for the next 2 minutes on this as well, too. But I mean, you know what? We might as well just make this the last segment, though, because this chick is so annoying.
We could let her talk and she'll just keep talking for the next hour saying absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So there's definitely some issues that, like I said, whenever the black community gets brought into this, we have to pick better. We can't pick people based off of like Kamala Harris. She was like the biggest phony fraud out there. This woman was cosplaying as a black woman. She, prior to Joe Biden tapping her, pause, she was Indian. It was Indian Area Pacific, what was that, Asian American Pacific Islander, whatever that is, whatever the acronym for that is. It was 100% that. This is one of those things where black people, we fall or we get duped, or maybe it's on purpose. Maybe it's like we just allow it to happen, though, because we get duped by Kamala Harris, and then we're like surprised that Kamala Harris doesn't rock with black people. Kamala Harris said out of her mouth she's not going to do reparations. I don't know how that just slid. Like just walked, and everybody's like, well, she said that before, but we don't know that now. And nobody pushed her on it. Nobody pressed her on it. But when Byron Donalds shows up in the barbershop to kind of talk policy with black men, they're asking about reparations. And when he's like, I'm not about the whole reparations game or scam, he's like, and everybody's like, well, I don't want to listen to him now. I'm like, you don't even ask Kamala Harris for this BS. Why are you Why are you trying to put Byron Donalds on it?
Hey, pull that article up I just shared with you and scroll down to the graph real quick. I want to prove a quick point. Because one of the other things that the Dems will tell you to get you to be fearful and vote for them is that you'll be a lot safer when it comes to policing when they're in charge.
Mm-hmm.
Attached here, you will see a graph that shows the number, and obviously the black bars in the middle represent, by race, the number of people that were killed by the police in the United States.
Yikes.
If you look at those numbers, there's absolutely no difference based on who the president was. None. So we've already taken that away. So they're going to use fear and emotions to get you to vote for them. But you got to start looking at these numbers and saying, hey, you promised this, but this ain't happening. I'm not one of those people that thinks the Democrats are wrong about everything. They just happen to be wrong about the things that matter the most to me, which is family. They're a very anti-family party as far as I'm concerned. I think Michelle Obama put that on full display when she openly told wives that they ain't got to discuss politics or anything of importance with their spouses. That was as pretty much as wide open as it was going to get. And then when you start looking at the people who are leading that party right now, take a look at how many of them have functioning relationships with the opposite sex in their personal lives.
Yeah, or even have black kids.
Yeah. And she kept talking about women and black women. I would have asked her to define what a woman is. Mm-hmm. And then I would have watched her put her foot in her mouth again, because now we're to the point where they're going to let these people who are men masquerade as women, and they're going to give them the same rights that all you women are fighting for.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the black community gets pushed to the bottom. Another community steps up. The black community gets pushed down. And it's convenient and easy to blame black or not black, but blame Trump and Republicans in general. But Republicans, like, I'm telling you right now, and you can, mark my word on it. Once we get past this whole tariff situation, the economy is going to boom. Like, anyone that has money in the market, you're going to make that money back in most cases. I don't want to get out here and say 100%. But depending on what you're invested in, and as long as you haven't touched it, you're going to make the money. You're going to be able to, new jobs are going to open up, or more American jobs are going to open up. So that should be new jobs in America. So, and we've seen a lot of companies, that will, that have committed to a large investment in the United States, which is funny that they, Joe Biden could have did this. Well, actually, I take that back. You at least think he will get one of them done. But the Democratic Party, honestly, though, I guess the ultimate question is, will the Democratic Party be able to contend in 2028, though? Because if Kamala runs in 2028, they're cooked. If AOC runs, they're cooked. If old boy in California, what's his name? Gavin Newsom, they're cooked. I don't know who they're going to pick. And Stephen A. If Stephen A is their best pick, they're in a lot of trouble. Oh man,
I think it's going to be Mark Cuban. But now that Trump has come out and said he would love to see Stephen A run for president, now I'm kind of wondering what his intent was behind saying that. I think maybe he said it because it might be an easy dub for JD Vance when it's his time. But I think it's going to be Mark Cuban. I really do.
Yeah. So we'll definitely have to, stay on top of this, though. But we did a slight pivot. We had an Officer Tatum queued up, but Kamala's hijinks they tend to overshadow the conversation in most cases, though. So all right, let's go ahead and wrap it up. So pause. Any last words, MC?
No, we had to take a week off because your boy had to renew his vows to his wife. 16 years in this thing, 25 together. I'm just trying to be better. We both trying to be better. But you know what? It felt good when my wife stood up in front of everybody and acknowledged me being head of the house, and how easy it was for her to stay in her feminine because of the work I'm doing in my masculine as a leader. When she publicly declared that in front of other people, it shows that I'm leading my house appropriately. Everybody's safe and happy and taken care of. So I'm proud of that. So I want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I've definitely said this before to you offline, though, but You know, there definitely needs to be a conversation about like maybe a marriage series or something like that, because I definitely think you and your wife you have something that a lot of people are definitely chasing or at least looking for, and they need to see people that are actually doing it. And, you know, Black wife, so you're more than qualified to have this conversation about Black marriages, which I know a lot of people will definitely, you know, want to go a different direction. You can't tell me, or this is how it is, though. But at the end of the day, you show how it can be done, and a lot of people that strive, if they really care about the Black community, the best way to you know, show the Black community is get married and have a Black child. Like, I don't understand what people are doing. I mean, you can, you know, mix kids or whatever, but ultimately what they're looking for is, you know, Black wife and or Black spouse, and then you have a Black kid. That's how you grow the Black community, not this Planned Parenthood BS.
I'll tell you, TR, I have a panel of Black wives who are lined up and ready to have a panel discussion. We have some great plans for this channel once we grow it out, but we definitely got some things in the works. But I got 4 Black wives who are ready to shock the world and give some real deal talk when we reach that point. But we need to keep growing right now, so please like and subscribe.
Definitely. All right, everybody. I'll see you next week, or we'll see you next week.
Peace.